ever wondered how people are able to buy businesses with literally no money? Well, today I'm confronting Jonathon Jay, who claims to have bought 28 businesses in the last 18 months using zero of his own cash. Well, I'm going to confront him on those claims and we're going to find out how he's done it. Let's find out how Jonathon Jay made his millions. Now, if you want to become a millionaire like Jonathon Jay, then the smartest thing to do is actually to subscribe to the James Sinclair YouTube channel. And if you want to become a billionaire, make sure you hit the like button on this YouTube channel. And that's just underneath me. Just go on, give it a little massage. It'll make you feel better. Hit the like button right now. So, Jonathon Jay, 28 nurseries you've bought in 18 months.
Correct.
I want to give you some real context to this. You've built a business up that does 12 million in revenue. You've done it from scratch in 18 months. I'm 35 years old. I started my business when I was 20 and I've built up a business of a similar size, slightly bigger than that. I own some day nurseries as well. You've got 335 staff and you've built this business with pretty much zero of your own money.
Correct.
And in this podcast, in this conversation here on YouTube, I need to find out how you've done that. How did you buy the first one?
Well, the first one is not a million miles away from here in Colchester. And I put the deal together over a period of weeks and completed in June 2019. So just a little over 18 months ago.
And you bought it with no money.
Correct.
Now, this is a strategy that I've used to buy businesses. So how did you find the person that wanted to sell that business?
Well, in that case, they approached us. And
but Jonathon, what I'm trying to get at here is that they didn't just think, "Oh, I need to call Jonathon Jay." Like, how did they know?
They didn't wake up that morning thinking that. No. So we do outreach.
Yep.
So we use different ways of reaching out to business owners who may or may not want to sell. I mean, you don't know what they're thinking, do you? So you reach out to lots of
like direct mail
business owners. Online, offline. Yeah. So you reach out to lots of business owners, and the ones that are interested in selling at that moment in time contact you. Yeah. And that's what happened here. I remember meeting the owner in London. They came over to see me. We had I think we probably had 2 meetings. I mean, these days I do it in one meeting, but we had 2 meetings a few weeks apart, and then pulled the deal together. It was actually the first in this sector for me. So I had a little bit of a learning curve around what was important in the due diligence, because I was feeling my way and just getting to grips with the sector. These days we do deals in 6 weeks. We do them very, very quickly indeed, which is why we're doing more of them.
So you're a bit like
every week.
So was this a distressed business owner that wanted out?
Yes, I mean, I think we need to be careful with the word distressed, because it implies there's something fundamentally wrong with the business. Because typically you say a distressed business. It was very much a motivated seller. But then I think most people who are selling a business are motivated by the exit, whether it's financial motivation, whether it's time, whether it's just getting rid of the stress.
But why did this person be prepared to give you their business for zero money down?
Well, they didn't give me their business. Let's just make that clear.
Okay.
I bought the business from them.
Yeah.
They actually didn't receive anything for the business.
Yeah.
And they had some business debts. And because we bought the company, the debts came with the company.
And you serviced those.
And we just serviced those debts. So it didn't require any money to be paid over to the owner on completion.
So this person walks away, but all the problems, all the debts gone.
And all the stress, they can sleep better at night.
And I think I should add some clarity. I've done plenty of deals like that as well. But I'm just for viewers, I wanted to understand that, because I think a lot of people would be thinking, well, this is just impossible. It's not possible to do.
I hear that. People say, well, someone actually messaged me earlier today and said, I'm very skeptical, very skeptical. And I think, well, I do it every day. So it's one of those things, if you don't understand it, then you're likely to not believe in it.
Yeah, because I think what a lot of people immediately put this akin to what happens in property, like buying property no money down and all of those games that are being played, and there's loads on YouTube.
I've got no idea how that even works. I can't imagine how that works.
What I always tell people, actually, so when people are doing those no money down deals in property, usually they're committing some form of mortgage fraud. Banks are not aware, et cetera, et cetera. But actually, banks, my bank, are really pro this strategy of buying businesses where you don't actually put any capital in, but you use your capital to improve the business and take it forward. And I've done that multiple times, and the bank are well on board and well aligned to that vision that I have. But if I turned around and said to them, I want to do this with property and, be creative, sure, they would not be on board with that.
I have a property portfolio, but I've never done anything like that.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand it.
I think, Jonathan, at this juncture, now that people are hopefully into the video, I want to be honest, I've known Jonathon for a number of years, and you are what I would say is a super successful business owner, and you've had other businesses that you've exited from.
I have.
So, Jonathon, I'm going to ask you quite candidly up front now, are you a millionaire?
Isn't that a little personal?
Well, I want to know. I mean, how successful is Jonathon Jay?
Well, I first had £1 million in the bank when I was 28, maybe I was 29, but around about that age.
How?
From business, from
what business?
Businesses and profit, and how else do you make it, for heaven's sake?
Because I think people will be interested to know. You never owned a day nursery.
No.
Before 18 months ago.
No.
So how did you have £1 million at 28 years old? That's what people want to know. I want to know.
Yeah, sure. Well, I've been in business for 30 years. So I'm 50 this year, believe it or not.
Mate.
So I dropped out of university.
You look fantastic. I fancy you.
It's the classic story. I dropped out of university.
Yeah.
I was doing a French degree. I wasn't very good at French. So I kind of knew I was going to fail my first year exam. So I dropped out anyway. I always wanted to be in business. But the next 6 or 7 years...
So you're 24-ish, 25-ish?
No, from the age of like 19.
Yeah.
For the next 6 or 7 years, I was, I had nothing. I mean, I was living hand to mouth. I mean, it was pretty desperate at times. It kind of got better around about the mid-90s when I was like 24, 25. But those first few years after leaving university, I mean, I really didn't have anything at all.
So by the time you're 24, between the age of 24 when things are okay to 28, you build up £1 million in your bank account when £1 million was significantly more money than it is.
Way more than it is now.
So how? What businesses?
So I had a publishing business, magazine publishing.
Right.
And I published a corporate hospitality magazine, a student, it's called a student entertainment guide that went to the universities to help them book bands and comedians and so forth for the student union. And that was a business I sold. That was the first business I sold.
So how old was you when you sold that business?
So I was 26, 27, that sort of.
See, so I think this is where we're pulling back the curtains of Jonathon Jay. By 27, you'd built and sold a business.
Yes.
Not many people.
It wasn't the world's
that.
largest business. Let's
but
be honest.
But
I did a deal. I sold it to Marcus Bond Associates, who were a corporate training company, and they wanted to add I should have added. I had a personal development magazine as well. They wanted a personal development title, so that's what they were mostly interested in. And I sold it to Marcus Bond Associates. I don't even know if they're still around. But yeah, that was 22 years ago, something like that.
And you sold that for a significant amount of money?
For way more than I'd ever made running the business day to day.
And I think you just hit on.
Yeah.
I mean, from your experience, and I know that you know lots of successful entrepreneurs, how many people, or wealthy people, should I say, how many people do you know that have made some serious wealth from exiting a business rather than running a business?
Well, everyone. That's how you do it. I mean, running the business is hard work. I mean, we both know that running businesses are hard work, and quite often everyone gets paid first, and the owner gets paid last, and sometimes doesn't get paid very much at all, and that's really tough. Or anything,
and have to keep putting money in.
Well, that can happen as well, absolutely, especially in the last 12 months. And I understand that. So the exit is really where the big money is. The challenge with that is that some people run their business for 20, 30 years and rely upon that exit to fund their retirement. But there's not enough money when they sell. And quite often, they're the people I end up buying businesses from for a lot less than they think they're going to sell it for.
But when we talk about 20-year plus or mid-20s, 28-year-old Jonathon Jay, you'd already got over the emotional problem of selling a business. Because I think that's a big part of an entrepreneur. They build it up. It's like their child. They're scared.
Yes.
You'd already got rid of, I've already exited one business before you was even 30. So I don't think you maybe realise this, you're emotionally prepared for that already because you've done, haven't you?
I guess so. I mean, I think you do need to detach.
Yeah.
And when owners think of their businesses as their children and they don't want to give up their child, I get that.
But Jonathan,
but
I'm asking you a direct question now. Do you think that's how most business owners think?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
And that's why I think very few exit and they either give it to their family or the business disappears.
Absolutely. In some cases, they'd rather close it than sell it.
Absolutely. I absolutely. I've seen that.
It's bizarre, but it's true.
Hey, gang, I just want to interrupt myself here. We will go back to the conversation in a second. And it's a powerful conversation, in my opinion. And you're probably thinking, how could I do some of the things that Jonathan's done or what James has done? Well, good news. I can show you how to do them on my Entrepreneurs University. I've created this online learning platform that will show you how to do just what you're seeing today. All you need to do is go to my website, jamessinclair.net, and you can try it free for 14 days. Enroll on the Entrepreneurs University. I'll guarantee it'll help grow your business or your money back. We can try it free for 14 days anyway. Let's get back to it. Now, before we do go back to it, make sure you hit that like button just one more time. I've got another quick question here because I'm sort of building up a picture of you. And I did, I've known you for some years, Jonathan, but I'm learning some stuff about you. What would you say as your key skill sets that's made you successful in business?
I sometimes wonder myself.
Well, I've got some assumptions of what I think they are of you now.
Oh, okay.
I'd
be very interested to hear what they are.
What one of them I've just told you is that I think you got over that emotional problem of being able to exit a business at a very young age. And I think that's going to make you more successful for everything you do. So every business, this is another question that I'm directly asking you. Everything you've set up since being 28 years old, have you always had the plan, I'm building this to sell?
Well, yes.
I think that makes
one day, yes.
I think that makes you astronomically different to most business owners that I've certainly had in my seminars and coached.
The thing is, I always wanted to be in business. It didn't really matter to me what the business did.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I was turning a hobby into a business. I wasn't turning that passion into my profession, as we say. So I just wanted to be in business. I wanted to be successful in business. Yeah. It didn't really matter so much what the business was.
So that's one of my assumptions of you. Okay. What do you think's the rest of your skill sets? Because you are, I mean, what you've done.
I don't know.
In 18 months, I know lots of business owners. I don't think I know anyone that's been able to acquire 23 businesses.
Well, can I just say it would have been about 10 more than that if I hadn't had
come on, rub it in.
a couple of people on board who were just a complete drain on the business right at the beginning. I had a couple of bad hires at the start.
Yeah.
If I had the team that I have now, then it would have been a lot larger. I mean, we're growing this group rapidly. We're the 13th largest group in the UK. Yeah. By the end of April, we'll be the 10th largest in the UK, and we might well be the 3rd largest, sitting behind the big boys.
Yep.
By this time next year.
Well, that's the evidence proves you're well on the way. So what is your skill set? So I've said that I think you're emotionally detached and you are prepared to exit a business. What other skill sets that you think makes you good at what you do?
I'm focused.
Yeah.
So despite that, I still procrastinate over things and I still get distracted by shiny objects.
What do you procrastinate over?
I think we often procrastinate over decisions where we don't want to make the wrong decision. So we put off making the decision because that's easier than making a decision that may or may not be wrong. So I catch myself procrastinating and I talk myself out of it, but I'm pretty focused. I know exactly where we're going. I know exactly what we need to do. I know the levers we need to pull. I know the metrics we need to look at. All of those things that really just any business owner would do. But I wake up in the morning and I think about it all day. Which makes me sound
anything else? I mean, I've got some more. I mean, I suppose it's always easier to judge the person rather than you talk about how great you are at everything. You're obviously exceptionally good at putting deals together, more than most.
Maybe that's practice, possibly. I think anyone can do this.
Have you put other businesses before the day nursery business together using a similar method of...
By buying other businesses, merging them, selling
what
them.
other types?
So back in, let's see, 2005, 2006, I owned an adult education business. We were accredited by the Open College Network, and we did in-house training for HR professionals, some public courses as well, but a lot of corporate training. And that business was doing well and was profitable. And that's how I made that first £1 million, to come back to your question from earlier.
Can I just, let's just quickly touch on that £1 million. And I don't want you to carry on. What did it feel like at 28 years old?
That's a really good question.
Have £1 million
I'll tell you
in the bank.
exactly how it felt like, because I remember this distinctly. I was living in Portsmouth at the time. Gunwharf Quays. I had a very nice apartment in Gunwharf Quays, if you know that part of the seafront in Portsmouth. And I came home. I'd been at the office that day. Came home, picked up the post on the way in, and I had a takeaway pizza. So I'm living by myself, sitting on the sofa, eating a takeaway pizza. Probably not a particularly good takeaway pizza, but I could pick it up on the way home. And I'm going through my post, and there's a letter from Lloyds Bank, and I opened it up, and it was my letter from my bank manager, who sadly passed away just a few weeks ago. Very, very sad. He was a great guy. And the letter said, "Jonathan, I just wanted to congratulate you because I remember the first time I met you when you begged me for a £5,000 overdraft, and he gave it to me." And I just wanted to say, to let you know that you've just passed the £1 million cash in your account. Congratulations.
What, that wasn't from selling the business, that was from trading the business.
Oh, from trading, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, mate,
but the point I'm making is that how did I feel? Well, I wasn't sitting in a drinking champagne in a fancy bar. I was sitting with my takeaway pizza by myself. I hasten to add, feeling pretty miserable, really. So, does money make you happy? Well, of course, it gives you the options to do things that make you
from
happy.
worrying.
But money by itself doesn't make you happy. It's what you do with it that counts.
Interesting. So back to the original story where I had to interject there. So you built this HR training. Adult learning business.
It was all about mentoring and coaching and that sort of thing. Very, very hot topic. Well, it is now, but it certainly was in the 2000s. And I decided that I was going to sell the business.
Why?
Because I couldn't really see where I was ever going to go with it in the future.
How big had you got it?
I felt like I'd reached a sort of cap on where I could take it.
How big had you got it? How many staff? Revenues?
So you're asking me to cast my mind back,
just roughly
13, 14 years.
I just want to know, I want to get a feel for what was it? Was it a micro business? Or was it...
I'll tell you something that transformed the business. So as I just mentioned, I lived in Portsmouth and I decided to move to London. People said to me, "You need to live in London, Jonathan. Don't live in Portsmouth, live in London."
Fantastic. Was that a good piece of advice?
Well, you know what? I'm not entirely sure whether it was.
Okay.
Really, I'm not entirely sure. But I did it anyway. So I said to my staff, "I'm moving to London. Who'd like to move with me?" And they were mostly younger, 20s, no commitments. And some did. And some didn't.
Right.
Some people saw it as an opportunity to move to London and have a guaranteed job and so forth. But it was actually an opportunity to take, I think I had about 27 staff at the time.
So that's a serious business.
I mean, yeah,
you're a 20-ish something year old with 27 staff, £1 million in the bank.
I was a terrible boss. I still am a terrible boss in many ways. I was a terrible boss. I was always getting stressed at people.
But what I wanted to understand, it wasn't a micro business.
No.
This was something more than. This was a business that employed people, had very decent revenues, cash in the bank, and profitable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, very, very much so.
So you moved it to London.
But I completely restructured the way the business operated. So I sat down with a piece of paper and I said, what are the functions of this business? What makes the business tick? So the obvious ones are admin and finance and marketing and customer service. And so I think there were 7 categories.
Right.
And I said, okay, who are the best people in each of these categories? Now, fortunately, a couple of people who said they were definitely going to move to London were the best people in those categories. Good. So I sketched out the best people for those categories. And then those were the people that came with me to London. I think one I actually had to replace. So I ended up with 7 people, and we were doing exactly the same as the previous 27
so
people.
You curtailed 20 of your payroll.
Yes.
So you're making even more money.
Yes, but more efficiently.
Fine.
Because I was the managing director. All I had to do now was to manage 7 people rather than 27.
Fine.
And I think the saying is that when it goes above 20, you start to lose track of what's going on.
I think it's 12, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah.
Unless you start putting middle management in place. So you moved to London. You've now got 7 staff. You've got a business that's obviously generating millions in revenue. It's profitable. And then you say, I don't want this anymore.
I don't want to do it anymore. I got very, very frustrated.
How did you sell it?
So there's one part of the story I just want to add, if that's okay.
Go on, go.
So at the beginning of the year's 2007 now. So at the beginning of 2007, that was the year I wanted to sell. And I sat down with my accountant and I said, okay, let's be reasonable. Let's be rational. If I was to sell this business right now, what would I get? And I didn't want to be one of those business owners who thinks that they've got a business worth millions of pounds when it quite clearly isn't worth millions of pounds. And the figure we came up with was 2.5 million. Not too shabby. Yeah, that's a fair payday, especially as I'd earned good money from the business along the way.
Yeah.
But I didn't actually do anything with that. I didn't progress that conversation and kind of forgot about it, got back into the day-to-day. And then I was approached. It was a Sunday afternoon. I received a phone call from someone whose number was in my phone. And it was a guy who used to be a client who had 5 years earlier been a little bit naughty, swiped half of my staff, swiped half of my customers, and set up in competition with me. And they were the bane of my life, except that got me out of bed every morning because I wasn't going to let them beat me, especially as they'd stolen my data. They'd stolen my database, my database of customers. Just downloaded it off the hard drive. It was just, I was pretty devastated at the time when it happened. Because I was young and I didn't have any experience of any sort really. But I got through it. Anyway, he was phoning me Sunday afternoon and he said, Jonathan, I'd like to meet you. Now, a few years earlier, he'd made out he wanted to buy my business. But he was actually just fishing. You know how people do? They pretend they want to buy your business, they're just fishing. And he said, could you come to Wolverhampton to meet me tomorrow? Now, I said, I need a really good reason for going to Wolverhampton, Peter.
not that you've got a problem with Wolverhampton in case anyone's listening.
It's a lovely place.
It's just the journey.
I've never been back since. And he said, I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm not really, but I know what you mean. So I went up to Wolverhampton, met him and his son who worked in the business. So remember, these are like my main competitors. And we did the chat about the weather and everything. And then we got down to brass tacks and he wanted to get out of the business. So that was Monday afternoon. By Friday afternoon of the same week, I owned that business.
For no money?
A little bit, because I bought the assets, I bought the tables, the chairs, but you know that they're not worth it. Then on the Monday morning, I went into that office and it was announced for the first time that Jonathon, our main competitor, now is the new boss.
Fine.
Oh my goodness. People burst into tears. One woman just walked out in a rage and never came back, never saw her again.
Fantastic.
And interestingly, the person who was running that business day to day, who actually was on holiday at that time, but then hot-footed it back from her holiday, was someone who had been a little bit, shall we say, hadn't been completely honest with me 5 years earlier, and had been party to the theft of my database, which I found on their hard drive, on their what do you call it, the server in the office. This was before cloud, so in the server in the office. And it was still labeled with my company name. They hadn't even tried to disguise that they'd stolen it from me. Now, buying that business took the brakes off. We were doing a lot of AdWords. This was pre-Facebook, a lot of AdWords advertising. And suddenly we didn't have to compete to be number one on AdWords. We just took the number one spot. We absorbed their customer base. We did all the cross-selling. And then I sold that business in November, the combined business, November 2007.
So all in the same year?
For £7 million.
Oh,
so I
this is a
nearly
great story.
tripled the value of the company by making that strategic.
And how old was you then?
2007. Let me work. I think I was like
13 years ago.
Or something. 35. Something like that.
So you're in a lovely position.
Or 36. So it was around, I was in my 30s, mid-30s.
So you're now 35, you got £7 million in the bank. What do you do next?
Well, I did what every entrepreneurially minded person does. I say that I'm going to take a holiday, realise that I can't do it. And
did you go on holiday, though? You must have had some nice
I don't think I did.
Are you married, Jonathon, at this point?
No. My girlfriend at the time worked in the business. She still worked in the business, and she was there for another 6 months.
And then, but you're not with her anymore?
No. But she was a very important part of another buy and build that I did in digital marketing. She owned 25% of the company. Because she ran everything
so you've done this. So you've sold that one, and then you start a buy and build digital marketing company after this.
Yeah.
So really,
but the business I kind of got into was the bit that I love doing, which is standing up in front of groups and teaching people stuff and seeing that little light bulb moment. And I get so much fun out of doing that. So even though I didn't need the money, that's what I started doing.
Well, I love doing that. It's really rewarding. But I think when people are watching this video, I think you are the real deal, aren't you? And that's why it's worth people listening to what you've got to say.
Yeah, I never talk about something I haven't done. I never talk about things that are just theory. Yeah, this is all from experience.
What did it feel like having £7 million?
Well, I only had one smug moment. Can I share this with you? Just one moment where I felt a little bit self-important.
Yeah.
I went into my local branch of Lloyd's in Putney, and I said, "Can I just check my balance, please?" And she said, "No problem, sir." And they always write it down. They're not going to say it to you. They write it down. So she took the little slip of paper, which has got all the boxes in, and then the dot and for the pence at the end. And she looked at the screen and she was writing it, and she was just copying the numbers. And then she realised she didn't have enough boxes on the. And she looked at me and she said, "Have you considered a savings account?"
Oh, well, you just had it in a current account.
And it was a current account. And that was the little that was. And I'm not a smug person. I know you. I get accused of a lot of things, but I'm not. And that was the only moment where I felt kind of a bit pleased with myself.
Yeah, that's a nice story, and you deserve the success. So then you just had a few bits of time off, and then you just went again.
Yeah, I wish in hindsight I'd had a bigger holiday, maybe sort of done that 12 months round the world trip. Yeah, that would have been nice. I didn't spend enough time on myself.
Did you invest the money?
I bought lots of property.
And you've still got that?
Which I still have. Actually, one property I don't. That was actually a bad investment. I ended up selling it for less than I bought it for, which is... I think that's the definition of a bad investment.
Yeah, and then you are just... you collect the rent from that, and that provides you nice passive income.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't really think about it too much, except when I've got problems with the tenants. That's the only time I think about it.
Fine. And where did you buy them? Around London?
London, yeah.
Wow,
I already had property in Portsmouth, the Isle of Wight, and London already at that point, yeah.
Have you got children now, Jonathon?
Well, at that point in time?
Yeah, not now.
Oh, now I do, yes.
How many have you got?
Just the one.
How old?
She's 5.
Do you like being a dad?
5. I love being a dad. I wish I'd done that 15, 20 years earlier.
Why didn't you? I'm asking this for
this conversation has taken a turn.
Well, because I don't mind admitting I love my children, and I thought that they would stop me on my entrepreneurial journey, and I realise now that that's probably selfish, and I should have. I'm a bit younger than you, but I think that's why I asked you.
I wish I'd done it earlier. I just never met the person, or maybe maybe I did meet the person, but I wasn't really in the right frame of mind. I kind of had it in my head that it would sort of be a commitment that meant I wouldn't be able to work, and that's not true.
That's what I thought.
It's not true, is it? You find the time, And everything I do now is for her. It doesn't feel like it's for me, really.
So being a dad made you a better person, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. Less selfish, that's for sure, because I'm thinking about someone else all the time. And you can't help. You are thinking about that person. You build your day around taking them to school and picking them up and going to the park and all of those things. But everything I do now is with an eye to that future. And, one day I'm not going to be here. And you certainly don't want to, well, I don't believe that you want to give your children lots of money and they feel they don't have to work. I want her to realize and understand the value of money. And she's already telling me about her businesses. And I said, so what are your businesses, Lily? And she goes, I'm going to do people's laundry and I'm going to help doctors. So that's her business. Good.
Brilliant. Now, I've got a couple of things. So this new business.
Yes.
So you've invested all your cash. You don't really have cash flow around you, but you've got lots of assets around you. And you go into...
Well, yeah, I didn't spend it all.
Okay. So, but you chose not to use your cash to acquire businesses.
Oh, I see. Yeah, absolutely.
And then you go on and you set these businesses up. And I know that when you... Day nurseries are about 50% of your turnover goes on staffing. So very labour intensive.
Very much so.
And I say that from an owner of merely 8 compared to your 28. And I know that they're tough and they can have problems in the beginning.
Well, you were very helpful to me. I should put this on record. You were very helpful to me. We may even have sat in this room, 18 months ago, maybe a little bit further back.
Well, I've always been open.
You introduced me to Santander, and no, I haven't forgotten. I don't forget things like that.
Well, so and we look at this business. So I know that when you're taking over challenged businesses, maybe let's not call them distressed businesses, because I've done this multiple times myself. That you go through a massive cash flow burn rate, especially when people are buying businesses the way that we do it. And I put myself in a very similar situation to you. I've bought lots of businesses, leisure businesses that are challenged, and they can burn cash while you're improving them.
Yeah.
How do you manage that? Because to buy 28 businesses with big payroll, I mean, if you've got...
It is a big payroll, yeah.
I mean, if you've got 330 millions of pounds. Yeah, my payroll hits sometimes $500,000 a month. So I know those feelings.
Yeah.
So how are you... And because you've only got, I mean, I've been running the same business for 15 years. So I've got that 15-year benefit.
You know a lot more about this type of business than I do.
To see the peaks and troughs. So you've had to learn all of that stuff in 18 months.
Yeah.
You must have had some pinch points. How did you manage that?
Well, I've got a really good team around me.
Yeah.
I have a business partner in the business who has the nursery background,
yeah,
who is very, very business orientated as well. So
and she's helping you manage the cash flow, them huge payrolls. Like if you don't have enough cash coming in, have you had to put cash in?
No, I mean I don't know whether you ever do this, but I mean if you go to the local authority, you can get advances if you needed to.
No, I've never done that. I didn't know that.
And we have needed to.
So there
was 1 month where we had to go to the local authorities and say, not all of them, but some of them, and say, look, could you advance this?
But what I want people to listen to this, and what they will find fascinating is, here's a guy that's got millions of pounds worth of assets, but he makes sure that the business funds itself.
It's important. Yeah. I think that's important. It needs to
because it's a slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope. Yeah. Once you start, and then it starts
Jonathan
becoming
just
normal.
put 100 grand
exactly.
in. Jonathan, we'll just ask Jonathan again.
That's exactly right. And I think it's very clear to say to your team, I'm not going to put money into this.
Yeah.
You need to make this work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't get paid. I'm not going to sort of come around and rescue. Now, it's never got that far.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, with the businesses that we buy, there isn't any business that couldn't do with some improvement.
Yes.
Every business
you're improving it through cash flow.
Yes, and sometimes some of them need zero work in the short term.
Just I just want to, because I know banks as well. So who are you banking with at the moment? If you don't, do you multiple bank it, or is it with one bank?
Santander and Lloyd's.
So they must think, blimey, from 0 to 12 million in 18 months. Are they asking you how?
It would be very nice if someone returned my calls. Seriously. The state of banks, it's just
But they must be thinking this is like unreal to generate millions of revenue.
I don't really know if anyone notices, because I I have a very sort of offhand. Is that the right phrase? I'm not sort of
it's like
hands off relationship with the the bank. I just use it as a place to collect the customer's money and to pay people.
But if you could find,
because I don't use bank money to buy.
But would you borrow money from a bank to help grow this business even further?
Well, we've got a pretty serious application in at the moment.
So you would consider
not with either of those banks, but yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because we're on a mission. We're on a mission to occupy that number 3 spot.
See, your job, or if I was in your shoes, I mean, you don't need advice from me, but I would be looking for the best possible bank manager I could get my grubby hands on that's going to fight their credit teams to get deals over the line, because I think this is a very unique story. I mean, I've interviewed so many entrepreneurs to go from 0 to 12 million in under 2 years. It's just not normal. It's just not normal, especially in what I would say is a very capital intensive business. You can't start a nursery. Well, usually, I mean, you have, but usually you would need to have a building. You would have to fit it out, resource it, etc., etc.
Yes.
You would need capital. You are in a capital expense business.
Yes.
To start a business, you've gone from 0 to 12 million. You've got 335 staff. You've done it in 24 months. It ain't usual. And some bank needs to be backing Jonathon Jay, and you need to find. Now, my experience is, and I've banked with Barclays, I've banked with Lloyds, and I bank with a private bank in London now. The managers that have looked after me are the reason I've been with those banks. And I've left when the managers, in both cases, retired. And the one, I've got a brilliant bank manager now that looks after me both for my commercial interests. And as soon as I get a rubbish bank manager, I'm on the hunt, because I know that they can make a material difference to helping you grow your business. I've got next question I want to ask. So I think we've identified you're a fantastic deal maker. You're very good at selling businesses, very good at acquiring businesses. It sounds like multiple times you put a good team in place, but you've had some challenges, haven't we all? I've employed some mistakes, and I always say to people, you've got to kiss a few frogs to find your prince when it comes to staff. What are your weaknesses as a business owner?
Oh, that's a good question.
What do you not do well?
I sometimes give people too many chances.
Yeah.
And then I look cutthroat when I let them go.
Yeah.
But I actually made a rule for myself just yesterday. I said I've got it's no longer 3 chances. It's 2 now.
Yeah.
It's just 2. I see the opportunity, and sometimes I get a bit carried away with that opportunity, and I chase that. Do you want to hear another story?
Go on.
So I went to a dinner hosted by Cavendish.
Yeah.
You know Cavendish.
Yep.
A few years ago.
Should we explain to our listeners who they are? Because they're probably thinking, what are they talking about?
So it's a corporate finance house, very well known, very established. I think 30 years now they've been going.
And they help sell businesses as well.
Correct. Yes. And I'd engaged them to sell something, which is how I knew them. They invited me to a dinner, and I'm not really a big networking person, but the dinner was at a very swanky place, so I thought, well, I'll go along for the dinner and disappear afterwards. And I'm talking to someone before we go into the dining room, and he said, "Have you heard of this particular business in the Midlands, in the digital marketing space? They're owned by private equity, doing incredibly well." I'd never heard of them. So in the taxi on the way home, I Googled them, looked at their website. Then I went on LinkedIn and found that I was connected to their marketing director.
Fine.
And I sent him a message there, and then I invited him down to the office in London. I said, "Look, when you're in London, pop in for a cup of tea," because I had a digital marketing business at the time. And I thought they were private equity backed. The owners, Sovereign Capital Partners, very big on buy and build. So I thought maybe I can sell them my business. So that was what I was going through my head. And then when I'm talking to him, I realized that they weren't really in a position to sell. They were kind of a management team that didn't really know where they were going. Then I met the managing director, then I met the chairman. And within a few weeks, I'd put together a deal to buy that business. It was doing about 5 million, 4.75 million of annual revenue, selling SEO and pay-per-click and websites and all the usual digital marketing stuff. To buy that business doing pretty much 5 million of annual revenue for £1. And a few weeks later, I did the deal. I actually had to buy, it was either seven or eight businesses in the group to end up with the one that I wanted in this daisy chain. This company owned this company owned this company. Yep. I ended up with a franchise business as part of the deal. I ended up owning 50% of a digital marketing business on the Gold Coast of Australia, in Brisbane, as part of the deal. So suddenly I had this many tentacled business. But it was an absolute disaster in that it was making a loss on a month-by-month basis. The private equity firm had paid £15 million for it 5 years earlier. So they'd just written that £15 million off. In fact, there was a loan note in the business back to them for 15 million. I bought that loan note for £1 as well. So now the business owed me £15 million, which from a tax perspective is rather good. Yeah. And the business was a little bit of a mess. It was massively overstaffed. So I restructured the business. I had to restructure it from 75 staff down to a dozen because we wanted to keep the core business. We stopped doing all the loss-making activities. I put all these businesses when I was allowed to, because there was a 6-month anti-embarrassment clause in place where I couldn't restructure. After 6 months and 1 day, I restructured the businesses, put them all through an administration, and ended up with the core business that I wanted, which now was smaller because we'd stopped doing the loss-making activities, but it was 3 million of recurring revenue.
Wow.
And then 12 weeks later, I sold that to Ad Media Group up in the northwest of England, who are effectively a competitor of the business. So I sold that in a very strong 7-figure cash sum. So this is where you flip a business, where you buy it with the sole intention of selling it to someone else as quickly as possible. And you just clean it up in the middle. You fix it in the middle.
Yeah, fascinating. I've got 3 other questions. How do you buy businesses? I mean, I know the answer to this, but people watching this will be fascinated. What's your key strategies for buying businesses with as little money as possible?
Okay. So you need to have enough strategies up your sleeve to be able to select the right one for the right situation. You can't just know one way of buying a business and assume that that is going to work in every situation.
What's your favorite?
So the more you know, the better.
Have you got a favorite?
Yeah. So at the moment, with some of the deals, and this, I'm so aware when I say this that people find it slightly unbelievable. So I'm okay with people being cynical about this. Where we buy a business.
Well, I'll tell you if I think it's possible.
But we get paid by the seller on completion.
Yep.
So we make money the day we buy it.
Yep, that is possible. Yeah. Explain it.
Well, it doesn't work for every type of business.
No.
So it's got to be a business where maybe there are prepayments from customers or deposits or so forth, which don't technically yet belong to that owner because the goods and services haven't been provided.
I'll tell you a little story to give people clarification of this. I worked with a wedding business, always had £500,000 worth of cash in the bank, but they were loss making because they were taking so many deposits for like years ahead.
Yeah.
And so they always had cash, but they were loss making.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's an example of where that.
Yeah, so we can utilize that cash to pay the owner.
Yeah.
So that's my sort of one of my go-to strategies. I mean, you can't always.
No, you can't always do it. Yeah.
But we're good negotiators as well.
Yeah.
I think that's very important because I think there is a belief that the price that someone wants for a business is the price you have to pay.
Yeah.
But that's when you're a motivated buyer.
Yeah.
That's when you're someone who says, I've got to have it. I've got to have it.
Yeah.
And then you try and figure out how to get the money together for the price that the seller
wants. So on that
wants.
point there, Jonathan, are you absolutely prepared to walk away?
Oh, we do it all the time.
Even if they're...
We walk away more and more deals than we actually do.
But you walk away from things that you wish you could have
I don't care. I don't
care.
You
know they're good.
But they're all good. There are so many that are good. It's not like there's only one good business to buy. There are so many good businesses to buy.
I think that's probably where you've got an edge over me. Because I come across things and I think, no, that folds into my existing team and my existing brands. I'm probably a little bit more emotionally involved. I'm thinking about one I'm
Yeah.
buying right now.
Yeah. Okay.
That's not a day nursery, but it's a brand that so fits in with us, and I'm overpaying for it. It's a loss-making business, but I know what I can turn it into.
Because you want it.
I know
You see,
the opportunity.
I've done that, and I didn't like the way I felt. I didn't like.
I don't like the way I feel it.
Yeah, you.
But I know
you
in 2
feel
years,
as though you're on. Yeah, you're not getting a great deal. You
Yeah,
feel
I
as though
know.
you're being slightly taken advantage of.
yeah, that's how I feel right now.
Yeah, exactly. But when I felt that way, I decided I'd never feel like that way again. So from now on, it's got to be done on my terms.
But I also strongly believe that in 5 years' time, I will look back and go, "That was a great deal."
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of
but you have to have that optimism, otherwise you wouldn't do it.
Interesting.
But that's what makes you who you are, makes you successful, because you have a belief in yourself and a belief in the future.
Are you passionate about the businesses you're involved in?
Of course. Very much so.
You really love childcare. You really love digital marketing.
I must admit, I probably wouldn't be interested in childcare if I hadn't had a child myself.
So that did change your mind.
Well, that was the reason why. So, we went around all the local nurseries in that part of southwest London, and some were better than others, and some you walk into and you kind of think, how quickly can I walk back out again? And then we settled on a small independent. Actually, it's not a small. It's 100 place, so it's not actually that small, but an independent. And we know how important that was to our daughter's development.
Sorry about that background noise. So that was your favorite strategy. Can you give me another couple of strategies? Because what I'm going to bring on to in a minute is you've got a fantastic YouTube channel that goes into all of this in detail, and you actually really give loads of huge value to people on all the different strategies there are to buy businesses. But so I don't want to go into all of them, but if you could give me another couple for people that are listening.
The thing that sometimes people don't realize is that getting the first business is the toughest.
Yeah.
But when you get the first business, then the others start to flow from there, because number one, you've got credibility. Yeah. You're no longer a guy with an idea who says, I'm thinking of buying a business. A lot of people walking around say they think about buying a business.
Yeah.
But as soon as you do that first one, you're now in a whole new category. You're a serious business buyer. So I say to all the people that I help, become that serious business buyer as quickly as possible. And then you can leverage that business into funding the next acquisition. And I've had clients who've done this during the last 12 months using bounce back loans, using
Symbols,
just use, and basically one gets another. And I've got one guy who's bought 21 sizable hairdressing salons without putting any of his own money in, because he takes the bounce back from this to provide the initial consideration for this one, then he takes that one to go to the next one, and he just created a system which I'm very proud to say originated with him coming on the course with me, and he just replicated it again and again and again and again.
So Jonathan, on that, your YouTube channel, helping people follow the strategies that you do.
Yes.
What percentage of your time do you spend on your day nursery business, and what percentage of time?
It's 1 day on the sort of training and helping people, and 4 days on the nursery business, and 2 days to rest.
2 days to rest. So you give me a couple of strategies. What's another strategy? Have you bought many businesses from administration, liquidation, or that are,
Yeah, I mean, the slight danger with that is that you can't resuscitate them. They've gone beyond the point of no return. So yes, I have. It's not something that because typically in this sector, as you know, once all the children have left, they're not going to come back the next day. Once the business is closed, and as soon as people know that the business has gone into admin, it kind of
especially for childcare.
It doesn't help reputationally, so it doesn't really apply here.
Okay, I'm going to ask my final question. Really,
is it a good question?
Yeah. Where are you going to go with this? What is the plan? What are you going to do with this day nursery business?
Sure. So right now we're the 13th largest in the UK. We'll be the 10th largest by the end of April, and then we want to move up that league table. As you well know, there are a couple of very big and very successful international players, position number 1 and number 2, and they've been there for like a decade.
Yeah, and they're like billion-pound valuation companies.
Absolutely. So everyone above us in the league table is private equity backed. They're backed by a pension fund. They're a charity like the YMCA that's been around for 100 years. So what we want to do is we want to move up into that third slot, and we'll be there by the end of this year, by the end of 2021, maybe the beginning of 2022, but around about that time. And by that point, it will be quite easily be a business that's making 50 million of revenue, and we work typically, don't we, on 20% EBITDA margin, so 10 million of profit, and then it's kind of, that's the business. What we need to do is just,
do you think you'll be able to sell that for?
Well, I don't think I really have any intention of selling this in the near future.
You want to keep it?
Yeah. Well, why not? I mean, if something's making,
I'm asking you now, Jonathan, because every time I talk to you, and I've told you personally, I've had offers for my day nurseries from some of those people that might be in that league table and other venture capitalists, private equity firms. You always say, just sell it, take the money.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, the best offer is the offer that's on the table right now. That's always
you're going to start getting offers in the next 24 months. I think you both know that, don't we?
Maybe.
So if someone comes and offers you 30 million for the business,
depends how much fun I'm having.
But what I'm trying to get at, Jonathan,
I know what you're trying to get at.
Sell the thing.
Yeah, I know.
Put the money in the bank. Well, I'm asking you. Someone comes along to you and says, "Here's a big chunk of change."
Well, I'm always open to conversations. Of course, of course I am. I'd be silly if I didn't.
So what are you going to do because that's going to happen to you in the next 2 years?
But right now, I'm very happy doing what we're doing.
Well, I'm very happy doing what I'm doing, but you're still advising me. I don't understand why you're prepared to tell other people that's what you should do, but why do you want to keep the business? Because I sort of lean to wanting to keep it because I'm just going to have a lump of money and I'll have to go and do something else. Yeah, which is exactly what will happen to you.
Mm-hmm. But you could have realised that I don't have anything to do with the day-to-day operations at all. I mean, I wouldn't know how to start running a day nursery.
Oh, really?
Maybe you don't.
I've put a management.
So So if you've got a business that can make millions of pounds every year, and you don't have to do anything with it, then that's kind of appealing. That's a kind of a nice retirement plan. Yeah. Not that I'm thinking of retiring, but you know what I mean.
But I suppose as well, John, because you have exited and you have got cash invested into assets, you're thinking now as having this as a thing that just provides you regular cash flow for the rest of your life.
Yeah, which I hope will be another 50 years.
I don't believe you. And I think you're going to sell it. Because I think someone is going to offer, I mean, if you get into that league, well, you're in it. I think someone's going to come and offer you something. And I think
well, no one has.
They will.
No one has.
They will in the next 2 years. There'll be people looking at you now.
Well, invite me back on the podcast.
Yeah, I will. I will. Jonathon Jay, you've been a fantastic guest. I hope you don't think I've been too... I know you're a bit worried that I was going to over question you, but I know what people are thinking. I know what they want to know. They want to know, well, is this bloke really successful? How much money has he got? What's he done? And I think we actually got to that. And I think we've really helped and inspired people. I really want you to go and check out Jonathon's YouTube channel because, I've fluttered myself on there a few times and watched some of your videos, and I think you offer
one of the live premieres the other night, weren't you?
Yeah. I think you offer tremendous value, and I think people should go and check that out. So we'll put a link in the video description.
Thank you very much.
And I say that honestly, Jonathan, because we don't do that. We've only done it with a couple of people, so
I appreciate that.
And I think people watching will know that I mean that. Thanks very much for being on.
Thank you, James.
See you soon. Well, I thought that was a flipping fantastic conversation. If you thought it was a fantastic conversation, hit the like button underneath me. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel so you're notified when we're bringing out great new content designed to help grow your business. And if you want to listen to more powerful conversations like this, go and check out the James Sinclair Business Broadcast. This is a podcast where I coach entrepreneurs. In fact, you could even apply to be on there by going to the website jamessinclair.net. It's absolutely free to come on as long as you've got challenges in your business. So that's the James Sinclair Business Broadcast. I'll see you real soon. Make sure you subscribe to the channel by clicking here and watch this video because YouTube tell me that you're going to like it.